and maybe they actually get a volume of leads, but they're not qualified. They're not really going to wind up being one of their best customers. And we all know the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your revenues come from just 20% of your customers. Well, that's even worse when you think about the percentage of leads that wind up becoming your best customers. And what I noticed is...
Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super excited to have you here with us today because I'm here with my most amazing guest, Mark. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks, Michelle. I'm excited to catch up.
Awesome. So give us a highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in the B2B marketing and sales space for more than 20 years. And I noticed that there was some really rapid changes happening associated with the pandemic lockdowns. McKinsey Consulting says that it accelerated some trends in B2B marketing and sales by more than 10 years in less than 10 months. And so I noticed that companies that hadn't adapted to that were really getting left behind. So last year, I actually published a book that went to #1 in 10 plus categories on Amazon. It's all about how modern companies in the B2B space, professional services, SaaS, tech, are building systems that allow them to layer in data and technology to do a better job of attracting more of the right prospects, and then accelerating their best opportunities through the sales pipeline, and then activating their best clients for fast renewals, larger upsells, and more referrals. And that's what I do. I help companies, typically sort of early stage, but not startup. So they've kind of gotten their initial product market fit, and they've grown to sort of a certain size. And now they're trying to figure out, well, how do we get to that next layer of growth? They could hire a full-time CMO. Those folks are expensive, and they make a pretty big cultural impact that the founder may not want to bring on. They can outsource it to an agency, which can be dangerous because agencies are like power tools. They can do a lot of damage really fast if you don't know how to manage them. Or they can work with someone like me, and I can come in and really sort of create those systems, create some prioritization to really sort of give them focus so that they can get their company growing to the next level.
Thanks. I love it. So let's back up the bus a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the 20 years in sales and business. How did you get into sales as your thing, and particularly B2B? What brought you into that realm?
Sure. So funny story on how I got started in marketing. So in the early days of the internet, so I'm talking mid 90s, some of your audience may remember there was a thing called, BBS Usenet groups, because people didn't have 24-hour access to the internet. You got to go on like once a week. So you treated it like a billboard at your local grocery store, where you would go place an ad on that billboard and people would tear off the phone number or the email address of the person. So at the time, I was in college and I was playing in bands and managing bands. And I started noticing that people would go onto these Usenet groups and they would trade bootleg concert tapes of their favorite artists in different cities. And so someone would say, I have Dave Matthews in Birmingham. And someone else would say, I have, the Indigo Girls in Atlanta. So I now know you live near Birmingham and you like Dave Matthews, and you live near Atlanta and you like the Indigo Girls. So I started building databases of all of the email addresses of people that had these different tapes. And so I would email them whenever one of my bands that sounded like Dave Matthews was playing near Birmingham. So I was selling out concerts for little unknown acts, which led to a job at a record label, which led to a job at a radio station. And I actually had a sort of a career in radio, was managing a top 10 station in a top 10 market, multi $10 million, dozens of millions of dollars budget. But I realized that broadcast wasn't adapting to technology as fast as I wanted them to. And that was really what had gotten me passionate about marketing to begin with, was using data and technology to create these one-to-one relationships at scale. And so I left the broadcast space and got involved with a little digital agency and helped them grow. And then actually moved into marketing analytics and building attribution models to build statistical models to measure the impact of advertising, which led to my career in the B2B space.
Very fun. That is awesome. Well, you could go down rabbit holes with all of that all day long. But let's fast forward it to today. So now you're working with people, and the book, I got a glimpse of that, but go over the cover again and the title. Are your leads killing your business? I
Yeah.
love that title, and I love it for so many reasons, but I want to know why you picked that, and why are leads killing people's businesses?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. There's this in B2B especially, just this appetite for I need more leads, more leads, more leads. And there is a whole industry grown up around marketing gurus that have got, this hack or, this way, this silver bullet that's going to bring you more leads. But what I have seen is that very often those hacks never pay off. And so it leaves companies with, they'll chase this hack for 3 months and then it doesn't pay off. And maybe they actually get a volume of leads, but they're not qualified. They're not really going to wind up being one of their best customers. And we all know the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your revenues come from just 20% of your customers. Well, that's even worse when you think about the percentage of leads that wind up becoming your best customers. And what I noticed is companies that are either chasing hacks or not doing a good job of building systems to attract the right prospects and then actively identify those best opportunities so they can swarm all of their best resources to win those best opportunities, they're left with the table scraps. So their competitors do have systems like that in place. And when they don't have systems like that, they're left with the table scraps. They're spreading their efforts evenly across all the opportunities instead of focusing on those best opportunities that are going to become their best customers. And so they're left with three kinds of killer clients. And the three types of killers are, you've got, sort of the jigsaw. If you remember the Saw movies, Jigsaw, he's a customizer. He wants to make everything custom. So you get these clients that they don't really believe in your product, so they want you to customize everything for them. So that pulls you further behind what you should be building for the marketplace. The next type of killer client is the Jason. They're the slasher. They want to slash all your prices. They don't really believe in the value that you deliver, and so they really whittle you down on margin, so you don't really make any money off of them. And then the third type of killer is Jaws. They churn up the water and they churn right out of your business before ever generating a profit for you or ever serving as a referral or testimonial. And so when those are the only types of customers you have, you really sort of get into this death spiral where you're customizing not to what the market wants, but to what this individual client wants. Your margins are slashed so much, you aren't really making any money and they're all churning out. That's the real problem with chasing a volume of leads instead of building systems that attract the right leads and then help you identify them.
Nice. I love it. So when it comes to the whole lead manufactured, like it's like, oh, you gotta have more leads, you gotta have more leads. I mean, I get it from a marketing perspective. Oh, we can get leads. And it was, well, what's the end result that they're going to get from this? They're going to get a ton of leads, and that's what everybody wants, right? At the end of the day, how hard is it for you to get across to entrepreneurs and business owners that at the end of the day, what you want is revenue with profit?
That's right.
It's not just revenue, it's revenue with profit. And profit alone won't cut it either. You have to have, the revenue up there to be able to pay for this. But they're so fixated right now on, I just want a lot of leads.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that, kind of how did that happen and in your experience, and how do we reinforce kind of the real metrics that they should be going after?
Yeah. So there's an old phrase that, some solutions can't be sold, they have to be bought. And I find this to be true in working with entrepreneurs and founders at companies that only once they've been burned by either, a hack that they worked really hard at and it either drowned them in unqualified leads or it didn't really pay off, or they've worked with an agency that was like, sure, we can deliver leads, let's go spend some money on ads. Only once they've kind of experienced that do they really have the aha moment of, wow, we need a little more strategy. And it's that strategy that creates the systems where you can, let's go through all of the customers that you've worked with in the last 2 years. Let's separate them into the ones that are your best customers. How are they similar to each other? How are they different from the rest? How can we identify as soon as a lead comes in, whether or not it fits that tier 1 ideal customer profile or not? And once you start to talk like that, they're like, oh, that really makes sense. But they kind of are hoping that there's really just an easy solution out there, that they don't have to take the time to analyze who their customers are, to then think about, well, where do those tier one customers live? So where could I engage with them on their customer journey? And what are the real personal and professional wins of the individual personas of the people on the buying committee of that? It takes some thought and it takes some analysis, and that takes a little bit of time. We can actually do it pretty quickly because we've got a good system in place for doing it. But a lot of times, until you've realized that the quick fixes aren't really fixes, we see that, companies are just really hungry for that, and so they're hoping that that's going to pay off, and they have to get burned a couple times before they're willing to take the time to do it right.
Ouch. We hate that learning lesson, but when it comes right down to it, that really is the way it goes. So talk to me about kind of the latest and greatest trends. Everybody's going, oh, I just need this new piece of software. I just need AI. And that's going to solve all my problems. And I don't have to do all this horrendous overhaul to my business. Talk to me about that.
Sure. So this is another really sort of macro trend. And so I very early on, we talked about, I've been doing digital marketing since the 90s, and the ability to capture all of this data and then to use analytics or technology to make sense of that data was really powerful. And in fact, there's a whole generation of marketers that grew up almost their entire career where it really was about hacking the algorithm and outsmarting Google and exploiting all of these, sort of little gaps in the marketplace. And in fact, like, I was so into it, AdAge Magazine named me a marketing technology trailblazer back in 2017. I was one of the top 25 people in the world using data and technology for marketing. But what I've seen is the explosion of solutions in this space has really made it impossible to keep up. So the MarTech conference publishes a landscape of like all the data and technology solutions in marketing. And back in like 2011, when they first published it, there were 150 on there. This year, there's more than 10,000. Like, it's impossible to keep up with all of these solutions. And I'm sure your inbox is flooded with, well-meaning BDRs and business development reps who are like, if you'll just give me 20 minutes, I'm going to tell you about this solution. It's going to change your life. And so it really comes down to there's not a silver bullet. You really have to think through, who is my real customer? What is my real value proposition? How am I meaningful to them? How am I different from the competitive landscape? And build systems then to tell that story to the marketplace. Now, you can accelerate those systems using some data and technology. And you can then, make it run 24 hours a day, make it run without human interaction that might have, sort of failures or missteps to it. Use better data that allows you to have even better insights about identifying those best customers and, sort of prioritizing those best opportunities because you know that they're a perfect fit for you. But it doesn't start with the hammer and then go looking for a nail. Instead, it's, let's make a blueprint on how we're going to build a house, and then determine, what tools we need in order to do that.
Nice. Love it. So talk to me about what it looks like working with you, because now you've got them in a position. It's like, okay, we get it. We can either kind of, put this together with some duct tape and some staples, or we can do, back up a little bit and really think this out. But as you mentioned earlier, you can spend a lot of money with an ad agency. You can spend a lot of money with, any given one source if it's not the right source. So how do they know? What does it look like working with you so that they can kind of clearly see that those are the bumpers and we don't want to be there. We want to be on the track.
So we offer what we call our 10x ROI B2B Growth Guarantee. So typically, we'll identify an opportunity to deliver a 10x return on an investment with us before we ever engage with folks. And the way that we do that is we do a diagnostic. And so you remember I talked about sort of attracting more of the right prospects, accelerating your best opportunities through the sales pipeline, or activating your existing clients for faster renewals, larger upsells, more referrals. Those three areas of focus are all sort of revenue systems, and it spans marketing, sales, and customer success. And so we do a diagnostic with clients for free up front to help them identify where is their biggest gap. Is it that they aren't attracting enough of the right prospects? Or is it that they're not maximizing and activating their existing clients for those renewals, upsells, and referrals? And so by focusing on one of those areas first, we can really accelerate time to value so that they can really know that they're prioritizing and working on the place that's going to make the biggest impact to them so that they immediately start to see some results. Then we go back and we layer in those other systems. So once we, if it's the attraction system, we've got plenty of clients. We're just not renewing them fast enough. We got a leaky bucket. We got to plug that, or we're not activating it, against our reputation in the marketplace. People know us. They just aren't, sort of coming back to us after that initial engagement. Once we plug that hole, then we'll go back and say, all right, now how do we attract more outside of your existing client base? And then now how do we do a better job at moving them through the sales pipeline? So you really get that integrated approach. And we have, we typically will build, sort of a 2-year plan. We call it a 292. So that we'll have a 2-year plan of where do we need to get in the next 2 years? Okay, so what do we need to focus on for the next 90 days? And so then what do we got to do for the next 2 weeks to get there? That's really the way that we approach all of our strategic planning and working with our clients.
Brilliant. I love it. And I can see that a lot of companies, they're looking for, biggest thing is, well, when are the Google ads going to kick in? When's it going to work? Right. It's right. Like, okay, so if we're looking at a 2-year plan, then it becomes a lot easier, in my opinion, to be able to look at, okay, we are going to restructure our systems. We are going to have to, communicate differently. How have you noticed that there's been kind of a difference in communication within companies that you're working with?
Yeah, that's so interesting. So we have a phrase around here. We say B2B growth systems set you free because we're big believers that systems create they set you free from a few things. And one of those things is conflict. Because when you're operating on a system, it's not, well, you let me down or you failed, but instead it's the system let both of us down. And so then we see that teams do a lot better collaboration when they come together on an objective system that they can work together to improve and optimize, instead of it's, well, your idea was bad and my idea is better. Instead, it's how do we improve the system? And one of the ways that we do that is we bring together a revenue team that spans. It's got people responsible for marketing, people responsible for sales, people responsible for customer success, and they have a shared scorecard of KPIs. Now, we'll weight the scorecard and sort of the performance more towards the volume and quality of leads for the marketing folks and more towards the volume and size of renewals and upsells for the CS folks. But you can see that when you bring everyone together, you really get insights from across the organization. We see that oftentimes CS really has great insights about what customers really love. And so when they bring that to the marketing and sales folks, the marketing folks know how to execute that at scale in a way that the CS folks don't. And then the sales folks know how to hit that in those one-to-one conversations in a way that makes it really compelling. It's also a lot harder for marketing to get a bunch of bad leads and throw them to sales and then blame sales for not being able to close them when they all work together as part of a team. Likewise, it's a lot harder for sales to close deals that they know are going to churn because they made promises that no one could keep if they're on the same team with CS. And so bringing this together really creates that collaboration. And these systems, allow you to have a lot more confidence and freedom from worry because you've got some leading indicators on what the revenues are going to be next month, next quarter. And so you can rely on those systems a lot more than just, well, I really hope the money comes in.
Right? Brilliant. I love all of this conversation. In a moment, I'm going to ask you about a Cinderella story of one of your clients. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I'm super excited to hear about a Cinderella story of one of your clients.
Sure. So I was working with a SaaS startup in the B2B space. It was actually an ad tech solution. So it helped people do a better job of managing their Facebook ads. And it was very early stage. So angel investor who was very involved, and they really didn't know like what's our position in the marketplace. So their competitors had taken a lot of VC money, and were just outspending them everywhere. At every conference, all their competitors had banners everywhere. In every trade magazine, all their competitors were everywhere. Their competitors were essentially buying big clients by kind of giving them the solution for free in order to then use them as a case study. So it was really hard for them to sort of figure it out. And so the way that we sort of found our success was, return to basics. You stop chasing hacks, and instead we really understood what is it that makes us unique. And what we found was our solution was uniquely suited to serving ad agencies, and all the other competitors had gone straight to the brands. That's where the dollars were, and that's who they built it for. We actually, though, had built some success and some traction with ad agencies, because our solution sort of allowed them to do a good job with multiple clients. And we also sort of played into the fact that, well, if we're so good, how come they haven't heard of us when all of our competitors are out there spending so much? And so we came up with positioning around, we don't want you to have heard of us. We want you to shine. We want you as an ad agency to shine. So we actually baked 100 cakes, and put the logo of 100 different ad agencies on those cakes, had them all delivered at the exact same time with a press release talking about how we had just released this new feature to specifically serve ad agencies. From that, we were able to carve out a real solid niche in the marketplace. And although our overall revenues weren't as big as the other players, it made us definitely a viable solution. We got to our first $500,000 a month, doubling revenues in the space of about 90 days, and ultimately led to them being purchased and having a successful exit with a household name in the publishing space. So definitely a success story that comes from that return to sort of fundamentals and not chasing hacks.
Right? I love being able to take the thing that everybody thinks is a detriment and using it as a benefit and figuring out how to mastermind through that. Because so many business owners like, yeah, but I'm not the best in the world. Yeah, but I don't have $10 billion. Yeah, but I'm not serving Fortune 500 groups. And figuring out what it is that is your specialty and how you can. I love it. And I know our audience is going to want more from you. So how did they start that journey with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So very proud of the book, and I'm happy to give away a free copy to all of your listeners. If they go to modernrevenuestrategies.com/free download, they can get a free copy of the book there. And if they're already know that they want to kind of get started, I've also got modernrevenuestrategies.com/diagnostic. There's about 20 questions there. If they fill them out, I can put together that fastest path to growth for them. Now, those 20 questions aren't easy. It'll be things like, what was your churn rate over the last year? And what percentage of your clients make up 80% of your revenues? You might have to have some of that data at your fingertips, but within about 20 questions, we can diagnose that fastest path to growth and help them get started on that path.
Brilliant. I love it. So we will, of course, have all of Mark's links in the show notes. Go ahead and scroll down, click and open up in a new browser because we're not done yet. So Mark, you alluded to it earlier, but I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you were a special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Oh gosh. So in the third grade, we actually had like a candy sales competition in order to get a chance to win a bike. And I went door to door selling, chocolate covered almonds in my neighborhood and just pounded on every door. And that first sort of taste of the flexibility that comes from kind of, I determine whether or not I want to go out and sell. And then I determine how good I am in front of those doors. And I determine how much time I spend thinking about, what do I see in the yard here that I could use as a way of sort of creating some rapport and connection with this person, although I didn't know that's what it was at the time. But those sorts of things just came really natural to me. And I've sort of really loved the opportunity to teach other business owners and give them that freedom to grow and focus on their idea and bringing their value to the world and not having to worry about how to market it and sell it.
I love it. And it's not just because you were cute and adorable and, 8 years old at the time. That was awesome.
Definitely.
You've been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
No, other than, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and chat with you. It's been a great time.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mark, for your time. I appreciate it. And I know how valuable it is. Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.